That's weird. Um, wow, UFC 239. That was some sick shit. Really crazy. Jorge Masvidal, 5-second BINK, fastest BINK in UFC history. Oh, I was gonna put on my BINK shirt for Jorge. Sorry, but if you do want a BINK shirt, they're at shoprobinblack.com. Jorge Masvidal, fastest KO, fastest BINK in UFC history. Jon Jones, really fascinating fight. Amanda Nunes, Soleil's, Holm. Just a crazy. It's as much fun as I've had watching UFC fights in a while. I was at TSN. I was doing analysis, pre and post fight analysis for Sports Center here in Canada, and it was a great time. Bunch of stuff. We're going to start out with Jorge Masvidal because that was amazing. It was spectacular. Thanks, Will. I see you there. Guys, please save some questions. If you put some questions up here, I may not see them, so please put them back up after because I'll take some questions after we look at some of this stuff. Jorge Masvidal, 5 seconds. Let's take a chat about it. First, on my Instagram, at Robin Black MMA, and Twitter, at Robin Black MMA, I did a 1-minute breakdown of footage from the crowd. Okay, so, and people were like, bro, what are you going to do? It's 5 seconds. You can't do a minute. I did a minute. We're going to do 20 minutes right now. How about that? Because in these moments, there is unlimited detail, thoughts, ideas, what's happening in the body, what's happening in the dynamic, what's the history of these moments, all of this. This is all there, all of it. In 5 seconds, you could spend a lifetime analyzing 5 seconds. People look at one painting and they spend 3 years and do a master's degree just examining that painting. These moments are the same. There's footage of the greatest singers ever in history on YouTube and recordings that people will discuss forever. Frampton Comes Alive is one of my favorite albums for whatever reason, just because of the moments of it. And it was, whatever, 30 years ago? I don't even know, 40? 45. We talk about these things for a lifetime because there's so much detail. Now, first thing, if you watch that breakdown on Instagram or Twitter, it's on my Facebook as well. The very first thing we talk about right from the top, so there's a flying knee. Please save your questions. We're going to circle back after and take a whole bunch of them. Flying knee. Wow, let's talk about the knee. Let's talk about the knockout, whatever. These things all begin early. They all begin early in the process. And when you look at Jorge at the beginning, and again, I have crowd footage. He's got his hands behind his back and he's leaning against the cage. I described it as hanging with his homies on the boardwalk. He looks casual. Okay, I'm going to read you something from The Art of War, the authority on combat. Okay, if you haven't read The Art of War, I urge you to read it if you're fascinated in these kinds of things, because it isn't just talking about how to win wars or battles, but these things apply to life, and they're philosophies that you can read. I listened to it, and I have the book. I couldn't find it because I have so many books to show you it, but you've heard of it. I listen to it on audio. I don't know, once a month, because you see these things different when the more you look at it. Information, the more knowledge and information you have, you view things differently. We'll talk about that a bit more when we talk about Ben. So I've written this down from my audiobook this morning. Please forgive me if I've written something wrong. From The Art of War regarding Jorge Masvidal and his 5-second knockout. All warfare is based on deception. Hence, when able to attack, we must seem unable. When using our forces, we must seem inactive. When we are near, we must make the enemy believe we are far away. When far away, we must make him believe we are near. Hold out baits to entice the enemy, feign disorder, and crush him. If he is secure at all points, be prepared for him. If he is in superior strength, evade him. If your opponent is of choleric temper, seek to irritate him. Pretend to be weak, that he may grow arrogant. If his is taking with ease, give him no rest. If his forces are united, break them. Okay, are you getting deception? This is fighting. This is the root of fighting. This is the art of war. Attack when he is unprepared. Appear where you are not expected. These military devices leading to victory must not be divulged beforehand. Now, the general who wins the battle makes many calculations in his temple ere the battle is fought. The general who loses the battle makes few calculations beforehand. Thus do many calculations lead to victory, and few calculations lead to defeat. How much more? No calculation at all. It is by attention to this point that I can foresee who is likely to win or lose. That's the only part I don't like for our uses, because we don't know that. We don't know the calculations that they've done. We don't know what they're thinking. We don't know their strategies. We don't know it. Doesn't matter what they say. We also don't know what they'll do. But think of a few of these as it applies to Jorge Masvidal last night. When able to attack, we must seem unable. Okay, so he's leaning against the fence with his hands behind his back. Casual. Look at that first moment. He appears unable. Look how far away he is. He's not a threat. In fact, his body language says he's not a threat at all. That guy's just chilling with his homies on the boardwalk. When using our forces, we must seem inactive. As he walks off of that cage, he kind of does a few little gentle hops. He seems inactive. He's still far. He's still far. Ben Askren's mind is not recognizing a threat. This is some dirty shit. Cool shit. Not dirty and bad. Dirty and brilliant. Because this is war. This is war. We must manipulate the mind of our opponent. He's leaning. He's casual. You're over there. You don't feel threatened. That's key. Then he casually saunters up, still far away, still no threat. And then it is only 2 steps and 2 pumps of the knee. And it happens instantaneously. Okay? There was a few others there that were key. If your opponent is choleric temper, seek to irritate him. That's what Ben did. That's what Ben was doing. Now, of course, that backfired. That's what Conor did with Khabib. Backfired. But other times it worked. Conor irritating the choleric tempers of his other opponents worked. Chael, sometimes it did work. Sometimes it didn't. But it is the game. This is the game. This is the art of war. Pretend to be weak that he may grow arrogant. Again, you're chilling over there. Ben's like, I'm going to take this motherfucker down. Look at it. He's just chilling over there. I know this is only 5 seconds, but these are philosophies that exist in these moments. Philosophies are not this happened and then this happened. Sick knee, bro. Like that is the outcome of these philosophies. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that is going to be relevant. Attack him where he is unprepared, appear where you are not expected. And there was another one in here. When we are near, we must make the enemy believe we are far away. So we are far away. We're disarming him, leaning against the fence, making him believe we're not a threat. Even for just a little gentle hop that simulates the pop out and, we're just going to chill into this thing. Deception, not and manipulation, but absolutely nothing wrong with this. This is how we fight. This is what fighting is. The little gentle bounce seems far, but he's actually near enough for step, step, pump, pump. And all of these are relevant. You can see this. Read The Art of War. Read it over and over, because the first few times it's things people say, but as you grow in knowledge in life experience, whatever your specialty is, whatever you do, technology, teaching, dentistry, whatever, all of these things will apply. This is what ancient philosophy is, right? Again, we must make the enemy believe we are far away. When we are near, we must make him believe we are far away. We started out disarming him against the fence, making him think we were not a threat. Those 2 gentle steps get us close enough without him prepared or locking into the reality that says Book of 5 Rings says treat things that are far as if they are near. The Book of 5 Rings is the other book that you layer over top of this. So you can read both of them hundreds of times in your lifetime, and many other books. There are many other key books. I'll go over it another day. A stack of 8 or 10 books that, when layered in, and you take information across paradigms and across specialties, they all combine in interesting ways. We'll do that another day. Hold out baits to entice the enemy from enemy. For in disorder we will crush him. You see it all here. This is all, and why is Jorge using this? Did he sit there thinking? Part of him was like, man, I'm going to chill. I'm just going to get in, and I'm going to appear far, and I'm going to be much closer than you think. I have to be close enough to slay you while you don't realize it. And that's what he did. The knee itself, the double knee, that's cool. Super cool. Partly because from where he was in that moment that he had traveled instantaneously to the moment where you don't recognize he's in threat. It's sprint steps, 2 of them, and 2 knee pumps. That is close enough to knock you out. And in that, so the first second is a hop in, the second one is out and you're unconscious. It's 1 second. Okay? It's fucking cool. It's real. And it's birds fly, fish swim, Jorge Masvidal kills motherfuckers. I don't like that. Birds fly, fish swim, and Jorge Masvidal fights people in cages. That's nicer. He didn't kill anybody, and I don't want him to kill anybody. Sometimes we get all worked up. This guy's a demon. This guy is we get worked up. Birds fly, fish swim, Jorge Masvidal fights men in cages. I like that. That's what he does. That lifetime, that sensitivity to the realities of fighting, that is only acquired through experience. And when we look at things, in a lot of cases, with our eyes are always less educated, our minds are always less educated than they will be 5 years from now. Hopefully, our minds are much more educated, and our eyes are more educated, and our understandings of all things are more precise than they were 5 years ago. Knowing that means we'll always grow. That makes us comfortable with the idea that we don't know a lot. This is really powerful, right? It's really powerful. If we then realize how important life experience is, life experience, in this case, fight experience, sensitivity to the truths of combat. This is how that is done. Other people will look and they can do it. It can be imitated, but it's not things that are imitated, that are real and visceral and sensitive to the truth, are not as powerful. So many people will imitate somebody with a lot of life experience that does something very well based on a lifetime of learning. It's not as powerful as when Jorge Masvidal does it out of flow and feel and truth, connected to the truth. So he fucking slays this guy. Now, I want to take a second now and talk about what that means to Ben Askren in these moments. So Jorge manipulates him to the point that what is now happening as the first, so let's take it as a 5-second knockout where really the knee, let's agree, could be off by a good second, but let's agree the knee lands in 2 seconds. Okay, 2 seconds. What that means is 1 second of lies, gentle step that gets him close enough to in less than a second land the knee. Okay, so that means when we judge Ben Askren, we judge him. Wow, man, he was so predictable. That guy's going for a takedown. We do this. We're normal. We're humans. Like, that's what we do. We judge. We project. We're missing almost all the information, the understanding of the reality of what's happening. And no matter how much we have, we'll have more in 10 years, which means what we have now is very uneducated to the possibility of what we will understand. Think of that in everything. It's a powerful truth to be able to hold. And you never act from a case of extreme expertise. You always realize whatever we know, I'm thankful we may know it, but we will know more in the future. And this will sound stupid when we have all the information. And what I knew 5 years ago now sounds stupid to me as I have more information than I had then. And so that's a very powerful thing to be able to think. So what we have is 1 second of deception and manipulation to get us close enough to, in a second, knock the man out. So when we decide to judge Ben Askren and his choices and what was he thinking and he's too predictable and all these things, we are judging 1 second. A human being, his actions in a second. We can't judge 1 second. 1 second does not say what was his plans, why did he do this. I have a sort of a thesis, and a thesis is just a series of words that you believe encapsulates a truth, right? In my thesis, it's not a big deal. I'm not. Maybe that's the wrong word. It sounds overly grand, but my thoughts on this one particular concept is the brain will react the way it's been. The brain will act the way it's been programmed to act if the athlete is in an optimal state of arousal and focus. Or your brain will perform the way you have it's been programmed to perform if the athlete is in an optimal state of focus and arousal. Okay, so what am I saying now? Let's back it up. In that second, we are saying focus and arousal. If you're at your best, the brain will do what you've trained it to do. Okay, we're not saying Ben decided this and he saw that and why didn't he do this and what was he thinking? In that second, what do you do in a second? What do you do right now? You can't fucking do anything except for what your brain has been programmed to do if you're at your best in that moment. You're properly prepared for the circumstance. Highly stressful environment. And yes, he's done it many times, but everyone is a unique experience. So in that 1 second that we are judging, that we, with our lying eyes, are judging. And know this. I'm going to come back to that thesis in a second, but know this. 95% of what is happening in a fight is only available. That information is only available through the performance of it. So in the experience, what that means, and that anybody sophisticated enough that has fought 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, or many more. I don't know what Carlos Condit's experience is like. I only had 9 pro fights, and they were very low levels. I don't know, but I know that I've been a guy with 9 pro fights, and a guy with 6 pro fights, and a guy with 1 pro fight, and a guy with no pro fights. And I know that I know more because of that. That in that experience, there are truths that could not be explained. I try every day to explain these. This is what my passion and my calling, but I cannot do it because it can only be, though that knowledge can only be derived by being in the experience. And I dedicate my life not only to understanding it, but to developing the verbiage to be able to share it, because I think it's so beautiful and wonderful and special and unique. And I think that secrets to the universe are in those moments. But I cannot. What I'm saying is, when you watch something, you have about a fight. You have about 5%, could be 2%, could be 9%. These are, this is spitballing here, but you have 5, 6, 7, 2, 1, 8% of the information. Okay. So what I'm saying is you're missing almost everything. So when you start judging, what you're doing is you're judging without the understanding of what these guys are experiencing, what's happening. They're not thinking, they're not deciding. He didn't come in with no plan. He's not predictable. We're judging a second of Ben Askren fighting a monster who's been fighting for longer than he was alive without fighting professionally. Dude's been fighting for 16 years. He's 34 years old. So almost half his life. Plus he fought for years before that. So more than half his life. Birds fly, fish swim. Jorge Masvidal fights men in cages. Right? That's who he is. So in that second, Ben Askren, if he's in the optimal state of performance and arousal, or focus and arousal, focus being actually what it is to be aware of everything that you're dealing with while there's noise and sounds and pressure and light, you're in the middle, and Bruce Buffer and all that. In that second, is he in his optimal state of focus? Probably not. Because in a lot of guys' cases, it takes them till they find the flow of the fight, which is later than the first number of seconds, and in some cases, minutes. And arousal meaning like how psychologically and emotionally stimulated are you? Too much? Not enough? Most cases is not perfect. So even if he was in that perfect state, what we're saying is Ben Askren's brain will behave the way it's been programmed to behave. His whole life, his brain has been programmed to react to stress, especially if you lose the sight. You go to catch the ball and it's coming for a mitt, and you lose sight in the sun. Cover your head. Ben Askren's, when he loses sight of the ball, he goes in and tries to grab the body. That's a lifetime. That's what he's been doing. So it's not like Ben said rock, paper, scissors, and Jorge played flying knee and he played takedown. He played storm and takedown. We're discussing a second. We're discussing 1 single second of a dynamic between elite athletes competing in the most unforgiving environment in the world. 1 second. You can't judge Ben Askren. His brain behaved the way he's been programming it to behave for his whole life. And he wasn't in a perfect state anyways. So all of these cases are criticisms. One, we have only 5%. We're missing 95% of all the information. We don't understand what's happening unless you've been there. And I'm not saying that to be a dick. What I'm hoping is if I do my job right and others like me over time, we'll give enough information that people have 10% or 15% or 20% of the information. But currently, what we see is not what is happening. Our eyes are missing everything. So, and we're not understanding how brains perform in these situations. We're not understanding the mind-body connection. We're not understanding feeling the essence of these moments. So we're literally saying, Jorge played a game, Art of War, that is a lifetime of development and it's in his blood, it's in his skin, it's what he is. And Ben Askren responded the way he's been programmed to respond, and that's what happened. And that's the end of it. And it was fucking amazing. And I wish Ben Askren well, and I hope that he does what's right for him. You know, people are, should he retire? Should he? It's fucking his life. What he should do. It's whatever the fuck Ben Askren wants to do. Hey, came back to try to win the UFC belt, got kneed in the head. I don't like that. Fuck it. I wasn't. I'd have already retired. Great, that's what you do. Or you know what? That experience changed me. I want to pursue this more than ever. I'm even great. It's his life. Let him do what the fuck he wants to do. And Jorge Masvidal, if you guys haven't seen it on this YouTube channel, it's quite a bit back. But if you go on the YouTube search bar, Robin Black, Jorge Masvidal, brunch. There's about an hour and 15 minutes. I ride with him in a van, and we chat after he fought Damian Maia, and then we sit and have brunch. We eat and have a drink and chat for 40 minutes. He's a genius. He's brilliant. I love the man. I admire him greatly. And say what you want about hitting people after. That's a whole other conversation, but I'll circle back to it in a second. But Jorge lost that fight, and it was still special to in fact, it was uniquely special in a different way to spend time with himself. To spend time with him in that environment. With a win, man, I hope he's enjoying himself for the next few days. It's a life-changing win, especially after the other one, the Darren Till one. He's changed his life, and he's changed it under his own power, being authentic to himself. So a couple of quick things. One being, and this is no knock against Colby Covington. He's doing things his way. Colby and Jorge are good friends. They're training, long-time training partners, and very, very close. Colby's been playing a performance game, and it's an option. It's a choice. It's it's one you can make, and he's sticking to it. And he did get, an interim belt or whatever, but Jorge's been authentically Jorge. And I think in the long run, our lesson, Jorge, and not followers and shit like that, it's only one metric. It's not perfect, but Jorge has 350,000 Instagram followers, and Colby is fucking hung out with the president of the United States. He has 150. Now, this is not the definitive metric. It's only one available, but we don't have other ways to measure this. But Jorge living his truth and really being himself and being authentically himself, he's changed his life. And Colby's been playing a game. Nothing wrong with that. No judgment. It's a choice you can make. And he's not gone as far. Just total opinion. One nobody asked for. Just my thinking. If Colby Covington literally started right now, ruthlessly telling the truth, this is what I did, this is why I did it, this is what I learned, this was my experience. It was actually hard. I was nervous when guys were throwing boomerangs at my head. It is weird and uncomfortable to be around these guys. And if he did that right now, gave us insight into what that experience was, told us the truth, and ruthlessly told us his truth. I experimented with this. I stuck with it a little too long. It's hard. It's weird. It's scary at times, whatever. I think it would blow our minds. It would blow our minds. It would fucking, he would explode. He's a brilliant athlete and a brilliant martial artist, a brilliant combat sportsman, just like his buddy Jorge. But look where Jorge is. Jorge's lived his absolute truth and continued to get better and continue to grow. This is what martial artists do. And we can learn that from Jorge Masvidal. I've been talking for 25 minutes about that 5 seconds, and I'm proud of that. I could keep talking about it, but we'll go on to some other ideas and some other thoughts. Maybe undoubtedly we'll return. But please watch that 1 minute breakdown that I did from the footage in the crowd. It's 1 minute of Jorge, BINK, and Ben unconscious. Quick thank you. I want to tell you, just because you watch somebody or watch somebody on a YouTube video or on television or whatever, they're still exactly like you. So if you think it would be really cool if Joe Rogan mentioned your name in a UFC broadcast on ESPN, if you think, fuck, that'd be amazing. Well, I think that too, right? I'm no different than you. The fact that I do this for a living and travel around analyzing martial arts, I'm still a guy. I'm still a person. Joe Rogan blew my mind again. He said BINK, and he's like, shout out to Robin Black. When Song knocked that dude out, a kid kicked him inside the leg. There was actually two of these, coincidentally. So a kid kicks him inside the leg, and he drills him with his right hand, knocks him out. You notice it. There's a freeze. We did it on TSN. I can't share that because TSN only has the rights for Canada. When we freeze it, the kid's on one leg as he's being hit. The other leg is connected to the inside of Song's leg, and he drills him on one leg. You'll notice, same thing, we did the same freeze. Holly Holm on one leg when Amanda kicked her in the head. Okay, and Amanda. Let's touch on that for a second. Amanda smashing Ronda Rousey and smashing Cyborg, super impressive. This was way more impressive. This was way more special. This one blew my mind for all eternity because now she's different to me. Those fights, she overwhelmed them. It was about offense. It was about aggression. It was about like just blowing through these people, crushing them. She's physically big and she's physically strong. She's got a big skeleton. She's super committed and she blew right through these people. This one was subtle. It was sophisticated. It was smart. It was tactical. Holly, is going to come in with those oblique kicks. Very smart. So this isn't a little side thought. Some people will say metagame. It's just all the same thing, right? You can look at things from micro and macro, very small and very big, and you can do that, but it's all one organism. And when this is I don't like to criticize anybody anymore. I've tried to learn that over time because in most cases the criticism is just an extension of my feelings and fears and emotions. That's true of everyone who criticizes. If you ever do, it's about you. It's not about who you're criticizing 100% of the time. So I don't want to criticize. All I'm gonna kind of say is if actually I'm going to criticize the idea of criticizing. You can't criticize these things. Holly didn't do anything wrong. Ben Askren didn't do anything wrong. They didn't. These are the moments that are created in here. They're making the best choices they can with the information that's available to them, not what we see. Not only do we not see 90% of what's important, they don't see what we see. So we can sit, oh, I can't believe he did this from 30,000 feet or from like a wide angle or from a rotating thing or from a zoom. They can't see any of that, right? So, and often this is the problem when we try to criticize or when we try to analyze from a position of we think we know. If you ever, again, no, I'm not trying to judge, but if you ever hear me, if you ever see anybody doing this, you know, just realize this doesn't make sense. But if you catch me doing it, please tell me. When we say this guy, the way to beat him is this, this, and this guy's weaknesses are this, and this is what this guy's doing wrong, and this is what he needs to do better, please tell me, because that's just so fucking wrong. Because we're missing so much information. And what we are seeing is like when you say, hey, I know how to beat Nick Diaz, say, we gotta, he's heavy on the front leg, so we'll kick him. It's like these people are constantly changing. Also, they're very intelligent. Also, their coaches are strategizing. And one of the main strategies that is happening today is I analyze myself, or my coach analyzes me and says, if I was coaching against me, or if he was coaching against me, or I was fighting myself, what would we do? Okay, well, we'd kick the leg, or we would do this, or we'd use this range. Great. So let's work against that strategy. Are you following me? So, for example, what could we do against Amanda Nunes? Well, one idea is we'll use that oblique kick to keep her at distance. We'll fight on the outside. She doesn't kick a lot. Again, I'm saying that in quotations if you're listening to this on podcast. She doesn't kick a lot. So we're going to use the oblique kick. We're going to maintain distance. We're going to kick from the outside. We're not going to enter the inside range, and we're going to bust her up from the outside. Okay. So we look at it and we go, how are we going to fight Amanda Nunes? That's our strategy. If we can see that, and many of us can, well, we have these discussions all the time on Twitter and wherever people talk like this because it's interesting, right? Then what do you think Amanda Nunes will do? It's like, okay, and her team. Okay, look, when they're fighting us, they're going to be trying a lot of oblique kicks. So let's work on ways to exploit that. That's what she did. One, you're not expecting me to kick a lot. I'm Amanda Nunes. I haven't been kicking a lot. Your expectations are low. So we're going to kick. That kick, there's a couple things that happen. If I'm Amanda and I don't kick with Holly Holm, that means Holly Holm gets the kicking range. Anytime we're at kicking range, she'll kick me. I got nothing. I either have to close the distance or I got nothing. So we can't have that. So we'll prepare a lot of kicks to keep her honest would be, a slang way to say it. What we're saying is we'll kick with the kicker. We'll kick at range. Secondly, she's going to try to use that oblique kick. Let's train to time it. So when she is on one leg, we kick her in the fucking head. That wasn't a coincidence. She interrupted that. You look, there's a cadence or a rhythm to how people do stuff. She interrupted that rhythm in such a way it caused Holly's brain. What I'm trying to do in most cases when we talk about, manipulating expectations and being deceptive in fighting, what we're trying to do is overload your brain, make your brain kind of like if pinball's an old thing. I'm an old person. Also, if you want a BINK shirt, by the way, it's shoprobinblack.com. I was planning to wear it in honor of Jorge. A pinball machine is this old device, but you play and you hit the balls up and you bat them. And if you were too aggressive with it, it would go on tilt. It wouldn't work anymore. And that's what we're trying to do with your brain. We can do it through fatiguing you. We can do it through hitting you in the head or some combination of that. We can also do it by overwhelming you with threats and possibilities. And we can do it also by just really like shocking you in some way. And when Holly went to throw that kick, her hesitation, she may look at it after, go, I can't believe I hesitated, I fucked up. Her brain just did that. Again, like Ben Askren, we're judging their choices or their decisions. Those decisions were made over the last 10 years. We're training our brain to make the correct decisions in real time by itself without conscious thought. That's how people fight. So Holly could be mad that she hesitated, but that hesitation was developed through what she had seen and what Amanda did. That's why we can't judge. And you can do whatever you want. But that's why this type of judgment and criticism, negative criticism, is completely incorrect. If and when people are doing it, it's because they don't understand how fighting actually takes place, because they've never done it. And if I do it, please stop me. Please remind me of this, because it is incorrect. It's not just wrong or rude or disrespectful. It's incorrect. The choice that is made in that moment is not something we criticize. I can't believe Chris Weidman did what, blah, blah, blah. Or this is what this guy's doing wrong. This is how he should change. All of that is incorrect. It all happens in the preparation. The brain is trained to behave the way it has been programmed to behave if we are in an optimal state of focus and arousal. So, and think about that concise statement there. If we are not in an optimum state of focus and emotional and physiological arousal, then the brain will not behave that way. It will behave unpredictably. We will not be able to even get out of it what we've trained it to do. So that's why that is kind of a concise statement, is because there's many elements to it. The brain will behave the way it's been programmed to behave. Great. Well, we can't judge it. All the work's been done. The lead up has been done. This is not a conscious ABC. What should I choose? It's not like please save your questions because we're going to take some in a little bit. It's not like if you saw the original Terminator, it's like, yes, no, yes, fuck you, asshole. And his brain scans it. You don't even get that. It just behaves. Somebody hits, throws a punch, you slip and fire back. You don't have time to go, okay, maybe he's feinting me. It's called algorithmic. I call it algorithmic thinking. I don't know if that's accurate. That's just what I call it. This is what's happening. So the brain will behave the way it's been programmed to behave if you're in an optimal state of performance and arousal. So focus and arousal. Optimal state of focus is mandatory to even get to a place where we'll behave the way we've trained. And arousal, same thing. Again, arousal is emotional and psychological and physiological, kind of up, not too high, not too low. So the importance, once we get to a point that we've programmed ourselves or our fighter in such a way that he can go out and be free to perform and hopefully perform well, we now prioritize being in optimal focus and optimal psychological, physiological arousal. Okay, you follow? I know it's imperfect. I'm still working on all these ideas. They're based in truth and research and science wherever possible, and the study of how the brain works, the study of how focus works, the study of how the brain breaks up focus, gathers information, processes. This is all what we've been studying. It's just my language is still imperfect, so forgive me. But I'll be working on this for the rest of my life. So hopefully it'll get better. It'll continue to improve over time. Because this is what it is to study something in a meaningful way that you care about and you hope is meaningful. So that's it. Don't judge Holly Holm. She didn't fuck up. She didn't make a bad choice. Her brain did what it was programmed to do. And your opponent's trying to find ways to make your brain default, make your brain be incorrect. Again, please save the questions. I'm going to take some after we have a little Jon Jones discussion. Your brain's just going to do what it's going to do. And hopefully you're in an optimal situation, so it will do that. If you're not, it won't even do that. So my job is to make your brain go on tilt. And Amanda's choices, and again, I'm using that word incorrectly. Amanda, the things Amanda did as she led the dynamic between the two, throwing kicks, making that an uncomfortable distance between the two of them, uncomfortable range, as well as throwing that threat in during that low kick. That low kick, that hesitation was Holly's brain going, I don't know if this is danger. I don't know. Wait. Oh, I'm. And then she's stuck with a leg in the air and she gets kicked in the head. So let's not judge Holly Holm. Holly, I hope you're all right. And Ben, I hope you're all right too. Um, fascinating shit. Fascinating shit. Please save that question. I see it's about focus and concentration. I love it. We'll want to come back to that. So Jon Jones, again, when we're talking about judgment, Jon Jones's job is not to entertain us. I know it kind of is in some ways, but it isn't really. His primary motivation is to not become badly injured, not have his consciousness taken away from him, and not lose a fight. That is what is at the root of what you do. Now, if you entertain somebody, which is your choice, you might make more money, you might be more popular. That's up to you. Then and we might get mad. Hey, that guy's not entertaining. That guy sucks. That guy's slow. We can do that. That's our choice. We can do that if we like. And they can decide what that means to them. And maybe they make less money as a result, or they're less popular, or they have less followers, whatever it is. It's still their choice. This dynamic, our reaction to what they do is up to them. Then when they lose sometimes and they're that type of person, maybe they get cut, or maybe this is all the outcome of their choices, but they're still the one in there. They get to do that. Jon Jones sometimes will fight only enough to win, and that's okay. There was when I was a kid, a long time ago, there was a thing that you would hear I didn't play hockey. I was a martial arts kid, but you'd hear the hockey players would like be comparing dicks, which is a little weird, but team sports do shit like that. And they had this competition that you'd hear about, and they'd say shit like just show enough to win, which, I mean, show everything if you're pretty sure you're going to win. Well, you can win by more, but that's the kind of shit people in team sports do. I never played team sports. It's not because of that. I just liked individual sports, the journey, right? But only show enough to win. How big, it's a weird shit that team sport dudes do. Anyways, it's kind of like that. Jones's job isn't to overextend himself into a situation where he might put himself in danger if he's winning, and he believed he was, and I believed he was, and I thought he won rounds 3, 4, and 5. It was weird somebody gave Santos round 5, and I understand why, because they saw the emotion and they saw the intensity and they saw the focus and the commitment and the desire, and they wanted to reward that subconsciously. But I didn't think he won round 5. I thought Jones won those 3, and even round 2 was dicey, but it doesn't matter. My opinion and yours, irrelevant. We have no ability to change the outcome or influence the results. None. If we like to discuss shit, we can. It's our lives. But we have no influence whatsoever. But let's take a couple of minutes for just a couple thoughts on this. Santos, for the rest of his life, he'll have that. Sure, he didn't win, but for the rest of his life, think about it. Look, a lot of times, I'll see a guy like Brendan Schaub or somebody who's very successful and popular, and people will give them shit all the time, and which is really weird. But partly what they're doing is there's some element, because I don't want to get too far down this rabbit hole, but of course, if you don't like Brendan or me or fucking Chael or a television show or whatever, or something somebody writes, by all means you can be like, I don't like this. But to take the time to be weird about it and be negative about it in a world of unlimited options and wonderful things and a big limit on our time, it's fucking weird to do that, right? So when people kind of like, Shab, you suck, Shab, you're like whatever, it is sort of a reaction to I don't and not everybody by any means, but people will be like, I don't like the fact that you built this yourself, Brendan Schaub, because that makes me feel like maybe I could build it if all it takes is effort and commitment and drive. And of course, there are other elements, best friends that are famous and all the things that people have. But that what that means is if I tried harder, my life would be different, and people don't like seeing that. But at the same time, you look at a guy like, and even people try and fail. Sometimes people, in their world, they look at it and go, see, that guy failed. And he's going to be made fun of by people like me. I am thus proving that one shouldn't try. And if anyone looks at Thiago Santos that way, he lost. Uh, the world is unfair, whatever. Don't. It's really harmful on your own well-being. Or somebody, Maxwell said, or they just don't like him. If you just didn't like him, you'd ignore him. We live in a world of unlimited, wonderful options. You can have all the best things in the world, and you have a very big limit on time. If you spend that time on things you don't like, it is not because you just don't like it. Nobody sane would do that. What you'll be doing is uh, doing it because of some type of reflection of how you feel. So please don't look at Thiago Santos and go, see, he failed, see, whatever. I don't think anybody is. I don't think they are. Because for the rest of his life, that man knows that on one leg, he fought the greatest fighter in the world with all of his heart and all of his desire. And then at the end said, hey, man, I'm not going to apologize. I'm not going to make excuses. That's a special man. He should be appreciated. Anthony Smith as well. Anthony Smith had a way to maybe win that. The last people Jones has faced have been very special individuals. They really have, to get there and then get in there with the best fighter in the world. They deserve a lot of credit, and they are special. And getting there and not winning is still special. Anthony Smith knows for the rest of his life, he can look at his daughters and say, we don't take the easy way out. We don't lie to get paid and be famous. We don't lie and say, I can't continue. He could continue. He told the truth. Thiago Santos said, no matter how badly our body is smashed up, we will fight. We will strive. We will go for it. Santos will go for it with everything. Anthony Smith, same thing. These are special people. Jon Jones defeated very special people. Don't undermine him. Say, oh, and this is one. And this, again, no. Alex, too. Yes, thank you, Cristiano. This is not a knock. And this is not undermining anybody in this dynamic. But when people say, if Thiago Santos was not injured, he would have won that fight. If he had two legs, he'd have beat Jon Jones. Bear with me. That is not true at all. Because when you change one thing in the dynamic of a fight like this, two unwilling dance partners with conflicting objectives, when you change one thing, you literally change everything. Okay? Think of what happens. He's not exactly the same, only he's got two legs. Maybe he's more confident, too confident. Maybe he's tentative. Maybe he's not driven as hard because he's not injured. Maybe he doesn't have that. Everything changes. How he's thinking, what he's doing, the choices he's making. And maybe he's like, fuck, I got this. And he comes forward and Jones elbows him. Everything changes. You change one thing, it changes everything. So, and that is in no way undermining anybody in that fight. I loved that fight. I loved what Thiago Santos did. He'll have it for life. I'll admire that man. I'll never forget that. Whenever I see him, I'll be like, fuck, remember that night that guy blew out his leg and he stayed in there with the best fighter in the world. And then Jon Jones, too. It's like, that guy is dangerous. He's a wounded animal who wants with everything he has to get me. He's special. I won't undermine either of them. But if you change one thing in any fight, you change everything. If this guy didn't break his hand, he'd have won. Not true. If he didn't break his hand, he would fight different. And when you fight different, you get a different result. When people are like, oh, if this guy wasn't injured, if, he didn't get eye poked, that's never true. Because when you change one thing, you change everything. The dynamic of everything changes, and fighting is about the dynamic between these two conflicting dance partners with conflicting objectives, unwilling dance partners with conflicting objectives. That's the logical way to state it. So that was a wonderful night of fights. Wonderful, really, really special. I really enjoyed it. I really did. I thank you for hanging in here with me. Really. I only got like 2-3 hours of sleep. I was in the studio. If you're in Canada, you can go to tsn.ca, and we did all these like high tech breakdowns on Amanda, on Song. Joe Rogan, thanks again. I love you, man. Again, like, I'm just like you. I'm just a regular guy. I'm just a kid from Manitoba. When Joe Rogan said, and Joe's my friend, and it's still cool when he says BINK and he says shout out to Robin Black in an ESPN broadcast. I think that's fucking cool. I'm just like you. Do you think you'd think it was cool? You would? Oh, cool. Me too. Right? That's really, really awesome. But yeah, it was. I was in the studio till late, and we did some really high tech, really like all the bells and whistles. But they can only be shown in Canada for now. Uh, at different times, we have shared it with ESPN, and they've shared it too. So maybe some more of that'll happen. There's some conversations going that I might be able to use some UFC footage. It's early talks. A lot of new stuff's happening. I'm going to, if you have Fight Pass, I'm going to the World Letway or Leeway Championships in Myanmar at the end of the month to commentate the art of 9 limbs: elbows, punches, knees, kicks, and headbutts. I may be commentating CES a couple days before that. CES MMA, best show ever in the Northeast, unbelievable show. I may be commentating that on the 26th of July as well. A lot of fun stuff happening. A lot of fun stuff. And we're going to relaunch this YouTube channel like in the next week or so. This whole room, we're repainting it, redesigning it, relighting it. And I apologize we haven't spent that much time on YouTube, but if you come to my Instagram and my Twitter at Robin Black MMA and my Facebook, I don't know what that is, Robin Black MMA probably. I've got, I don't know, 800 or 900 1-minute breakdowns, and I love to share them. But we'll be doing way more YouTube stuff and jigging all the podcasts so you can listen to the podcasts as well. All right. Thank you guys so much for hanging with me. It is my pleasure. It really is. It's a privilege. And this is a journey for me. My goal and my job is to keep learning, keep understanding deeper, and keep finding ways to make it sound simple. And most of these things are simple. We just don't understand them yet. That's okay. It isn't just understanding. It's then finding comparisons to simpler ideas and simplifying what it is until we get it, and then we can go further. We can keep going further. Um, I'm really thankful. I'm really thankful. I was at the MMA Awards last week in Las Vegas. I was nominated for Analyst of the Year, and I'm not afraid to say that because I'm very proud of it. Very proud and very grateful. Dan Cormier won. Dan, congratulations. We love you. And yeah, it's been a fun couple of weeks. Tired. I'm gonna get a nap in today. But please check out my 1-minute breakdown. Jorge Masvidal, Flying Knee. Robin Black at Robin Black MMA, Instagram and Twitter. If you want a BINK shirt, I forgot to wear it. I was too excited, but it's shoprobinblack.com. And please check back in here at YouTube because we're relaunching this and we're going to do a lot of new fun stuff. Really appreciate you guys. I hope I didn't leave anything out, but thank you for being here with me. Makes me, I'm really grateful. Until next time, enjoy the hostilities, my friends. Blackout.